Back to the show, an explosive new book about the British royal family hit shelves today, supposedly setting the record straight on some of the most talked about rumours in recent royal history.
It's the fifth book from royal biographer Robert Hardman, who's spent more than 25 years closely following the royal family, and we're very pleased to say he joins us live now from London. Robert, good to see you. Now, first, before we get to your book, we just want to ask you about that breaking news this morning, our time, about Princess Kate and the King and their respective surgeries. What's going on?
Well, yeah, that was something of a surprise to us this afternoon. First, a statement from Kensington Palace saying that the Princess of Wales is in hospital at the moment. She has undergone an operation and she's going to be in hospital for a couple of weeks and will be out of action until Easter. And then within 2 hours, there was another statement from Buckingham Palace to say that the King, following a checkup earlier in the week, is undergoing a procedure next week for an enlarged prostate. And he was happy to put that information out there. That's quite sort of unusually sort of candid and detailed info, which you wouldn't expect normally from the palace. But the King has said that, or let it be known that, you know, he's keen that other people go and get checked out for this. That you know, people ought to know that this is what applies to kings applies to everyone else. So, yeah, you know, there's obviously concern and sympathy, but you know, I think everyone will expect the King will be back in action much sooner than the Princess.
I think it's a good thing to raise awareness, and I'm glad that he sees it that way. I mean, is it any wonder they're all crook in Buckingham Palace after what Harry's done to them?
I mean, you know, the Harry saga goes on. It's been going on now. It's about to, what are we into? About to enter year 4. Yeah, I mean, you allude there to the book I'm bringing out today, which is really a portrait of the King, of his new reign. But obviously, in it, a key part of the story is relations with California, with Harry and Meghan. Yeah, they are. There's still a lot of you know, a lot of bridges to rebuild. But you know, the King is an optimist. He definitely, his view certainly is that, you know, the door remains open, and that whatever's happened in the past, well, you know, perhaps one day we can mend things a bit. I think the relationship with between the brothers will take a little longer to rearrange.
Why do you think that is? What's been the biggest thing for those two?
Well, I think it's not so much what Harry has said, it's the way he's said it. I mean, William has always been an intensely private man. He guards the privacy of his family very closely. And a sort of cumulative effect of first Harry and Meghan's interview with Oprah Winfrey, throwing out all sorts of allegations. I mean, that took everybody completely by surprise. Then a 6-part Netflix series at the end. 22, followed last year by the publication of Harry's memoir. And I think the memoir was particularly wounding for William because, yeah, there was some, you know, embarrassing conversations and bits and pieces in there. Overall, actually, I thought it was a rather affectionate portrait of both William, Kate, Charles, and even Camilla. But the fact was, for William, it's the fact that his brother was prepared to just chuck this stuff out there and regale the world with stories of, you know, childhood intimacies and sort of conversations they had when they were little boys. And to him, that stuff's sacred. And I think he feels very wounded by a lot of that.
It would be hard to believe that anything more could actually be revealed. But one of the more shocking recent revelations in the book was that the Queen didn't actually approve of the Sussexes choosing the name Lilibet for their daughter. In fact, quite the opposite.
Well, yes, it was slightly more complicated than that. I mean, the Sussexes rang her up and sort of said, look, we're going to call our daughter Lilibet. And, you know, the Queen was effectively, you know, not as much you could say, really, after that. And they then put it out that the Queen had, you know, was entirely given this choice of name, her blessing. And you know, there is a certain intimacy to I mean, there's nobody else in the world called Lilibet. It was the Queen's nickname. And anyway, the BBC then put out a report that, no, the Queen had not been asked. She'd just been told. The Sussexes immediately reached for their lawyers and expected the palace to support their version of events. And from the palace was a resounding silence. So effectively, the palace, the Queen, was saying, nah, it's not exactly how we, recollections may vary. And in the course of writing my book, I spoke to someone very, very senior who said that the Queen was as angry as they'd ever seen her, and that's saying something.
Wow.
And it's not because of the choice of name. I mean, that maybe she had her views on that. It's the fact that she was then expected to agree with a version of events that simply wasn't how she remembered. And the one thing you always knew with the Queen, you don't put words in her mouth. She's absolutely, she makes her own decisions. You don't say, well, I think, could you sort of support this version of events? And she didn't.
Look, it's one thing every family knows around the world, and to this, I guess we all have in common. You just don't mess with the grandnan, ever, especially if it's Queen.
Leave him out of it.
It's an interesting read. Thank you so much for being with us.
Appreciate
it. Well, events across the royal calendar are being cancelled, with both the King and Princess of Wales needing serious surgery, and Prince William clearing his schedule to care for his wife. Associate editor at the Daily Mirror, Russell Myers, is live with more. Hey, Rusty, gee, it was a big day there.
Good morning, mate. Well, it was. Two statements right out the blue today. First of all, Kensington Palace announcing that the Princess of Wales is actually in hospital as we speak. She has had successful abdominal surgery and she's going to remain there for between 10 to 14 days. So a long stay for her. Months of recovery. We won't hear too much from the palace about what the nature of the operation is, but sort of the Wales is certainly downing tools. William being there for his wife and cancelling all engagements for the foreseeable future.
I guess the worry is, it's been such a busy schedule in Great Britain for the last 18 months, if not longer. She's so fit. She looks so fit and well, and it kind of came out of nowhere.
Well, yeah, totally. I was just speaking to somebody at the palace last week, confirming a trip to go overseas to see British troops and say thank you for all they're doing constantly for their work overseas, and that was due to happen in the next couple of weeks. So that was definitely in the diary, just a few days ago. And now this has come out of the blue. They have said she wasn't rushed to hospital. It was planned surgery. That could have been a couple of days, but she will stay there for a couple of weeks, and then it will be this sort of 8 to 12 week recovery. So, the slate has been completely wiped clean for the foreseeable future.
King Charles, on the other hand, very forthcoming about he's got an enlarged prostate that he'll have an operation on. I think it's a great thing that he's come forward. All of that deliberate.
Well, it is, of course. All about awareness. We need to be talking about these things. There's a lot of men who suffer from enlarged prostates. These things can get a lot worse if they're not seen to. 52,000 men just in the UK die from prostate cancer each year. Not that serious for the King, thankfully. He's just going to have a procedure next week where he'll be in and out of hospital in a day or so. But, really good on him, because we need to be having these conversations, and I think that was certainly targeted.
All right, you're going to have a little break now until they're all back on deck. Good on you, Rusty.
Yeah, I imagine.
Thank you, mate.